All right, the AFC South, I think this is going to be top to bottom the best division in the NFL this year. I think you have three legit playoff caliber teams and a fourth team in the Bucks that it wouldn't shock me if they had a big year. I think New Orleans is going to win this division. I've been a big fan of what they've been doing these last several years. They got Michael Thomas signed to an extension, a 5-year, basically $100 million contract, about $20 million per year. He wanted to get paid that high. He got it. I think he'll be happy. Alvin Kamara is only going to get better. They got Latavius Murray to kind of fill in that complementary role. I like the guys that they got on defense back. Hopefully Marcus Davenport can stay healthy and maybe give him that edge rusher. Here's a team that nearly made it to the playoffs last year, or nearly made it to the Super Bowl last year. I think they're right in that place to do it again this year. Right below them is Atlanta, and I think Atlanta's going to make the playoffs this year as a wild card. Last year they didn't do very good, and they ended up picking 15th overall, some 14th overall, and a lot of that was because of injuries. Okay? They lost Deion Jones to an injury. They lost Keanu Neal to an injury. They got banged up last year, and that caused their defense to fall off, and the offense had to try and carry them, and they just didn't have much success. And I think getting those guys back healthy, I've liked some of the additions they made. Dan Quinn fired his entire staff, so he's got a new offensive coordinator. I guess Sarkisian left, but they got a new defensive staff. I think this team is going to bounce back. They're one of the teams I think is going to rise. I thought they were better than they were last year. They're going to win the wild card, or at least one of them. And here's a team that I think has Super Bowl capabilities. I don't think they're going to get there, but if those guys can stay healthy, especially on defense, I think the offense is good enough, and expect a huge year from Julio Jones. He joked that he was going to go for 3,000 yards. Okay. He's going to be entering next year's going to be his contract year, and he wants to get paid. And they've talked about paying him. Can he? I think he's going to go off. And if you're a fantasy football fan like I am, he's going to be a guy that I target because he's playing for money. And when a player's playing for money, they're going to go out and ball, and I think he's going to. All right, I have Carolina finishing third. Here's a team that I think is going to compete for a playoff spot. I have them just missing out. I like what they're doing. They were the team that was featured on the All or Nothing Amazon series. I'm a big fan of it. I think the Cardinals season has been the best one because they kind of, obviously they went to the playoffs. I liked how they showed a lot more of the personnel moves. Carolina's season didn't quite show that. They just kind of recapped the season. It was definitely tremendous, though. I've always liked Cam Newton and thought he was a good talent, but after watching that All or Nothing series, how can you not like Cam Newton? I mean, I'm sure he's got his quirks and people don't like him for whatever reason, but you definitely saw his leadership ability. You saw his desire for the game. You saw his raw talent. You saw him playing through injuries. I'm a big fan of Cam Newton. I thought he was a good quarterback, don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of Cam Newton. He's easy to root for, and they're building a unique offense around him, a lot of speed-type guys. I know early in his career you had a lot of the contested catchers with Devin Funchess and Kelvin Benjamin. Both of those two guys are gone, and it's not a surprise why Devin Funchess is gone. You saw it in that series. You just saw the trust that Cam Newton had in him go away. He had too many drops, too many issues. They've got DJ Moore, who you could see emerge last year. Curtis Samuel, they're raving about his route running ability. Christian McCaffrey is just this new age running back. So I think as long as they get that offensive line in order, I think they can have a lot of success on that offensive side. Defensively, they're switching to that 3-4. They've got, Luke. That's another thing about the All or Nothing. The amount of attention that Luke Kuechly paid, you always saw him talking about breaking down film and watching him breaking down, and then you see he always was calling, oh, this is going to be this play, and he'd sprint there and make the tackle. his instincts and his film capability, what he learns from film, is remarkable, and it's no wonder why he's one of the better linebackers in the league, just from the what he puts into it and just his feel for the game. I think Luke Kuechly is going to be one heck of a defensive coordinator when it's all said and done. If he wants to be a coach, based off of what I've seen just from that series, I think he's got a chance to be a really good one. The big question with the Panthers is, will they have enough pass rush? They're going to that 3-4 defense. The defensive line, it's going to be like the Wade Phillips 3-4. So it's not going to be this two-gap system. They're going to get up the field. They've got Gerald McCoy. They've got Quan Short. They've got Dontari Poe. Can they get that edge rush? Brian Burns was a guy that they drafted. He's a pure speed rusher. Can he have success and give him that presence off the edge? Can they have someone else on the other side? If in all reality, if you're rushing their down 3 and Brian Burns, I think they're going to have a lot of success. I think the Panthers secondary is going to be good too. You saw last year, Dante Jackson's a guy that's got all the tools. Can he put it together? Eric Reed kind of was a good addition for them. Trey Boston they just signed, who's gone. Everywhere he's gone, he's had success. He's coming back to Carolina. So like I said, they're a playoff contender. I don't know if they'll quite get there. I think they're going to be battling with the Falcons and the Eagles for that last wild card spot. I kind of tend to give it to Philadelphia just because I think the South teams are going to beat up on each other. All right, the last team in the AFC South is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this is a team that's going to be a complete boom or bust. I could see the Buccaneers having a good season going on and getting 6 to 9 wins. I could also see them just blowing up. I like Bruce Arians as a coach. I think he's one of the better coaches in the NFL. I think he's the perfect coach for Jameis Winston with what he has, get the most out of him. They've got good receivers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. They've got two good tight ends. No questions about the running back, but that's not that big of a deal. I think the offensive line is a question mark. Bruce Arians likes to throw the ball downfield, so he needs a good offensive line that can protect the quarterback. Are they able to do that? I'm not quite sure. Their secondary continues to be an issue. Todd Bowles likes to blitz, and so he needs a good secondary. They've invested a ton of draft picks the last several years on offensive linemen, on cornerbacks and safeties. So can they find the right combination to have success? They don't have a Patrick Peterson type guy. They don't have a Tremaine Johnson, even though he didn't play that well last year. Do they have the corners that can do it? I'm not quite sure they do.